Live from the Spill Studios, located behind a liquor store off the I-35 interchange.
Mm-hmm.
It's time once again for
Yes.
a couple of cold ones.
Mm-hmm.
Corey and Carlisle.
That's me, and that's you,
That's me.
and that's you, and that's me too.
Yes.
How's it going, sir?
It's going well. How about yourself?
I have to apologize to getting to you so late. I have been playing tour guide with my cousin all weekend actually, and I'm about to lose my goddamn mind. But it's been fun. It's all right. You know what are you gonna do? I every night has been a blur hanging out with him.
I know how you feel.
To say the least. But hey, his family. He's a guy that always takes care of me when I go to London, so I have to take care of him
It's
here.
that cousin. So you do kind of have to bend over backwards because he gives you the hookup while you're over there.
Oh yeah, bend over backwards, bend over forwards, put my pants down, cradle his balls, whatever he wants me to do, I have to do it.
Whatever, however it works in your family, man. Whatever.
That is the way it works. We take care of each other. No, it's been fun. Like I said, it's just he likes to. It's funny when I go there. He likes to kind of keep to himself, but he enjoys my company. We stay in. But when he comes here, he likes to party. He likes to party hard. He wants to go ripping and running all around kind of places. He wants to eat fine food, and I just.
Which is kind of weird because when you're here, you kind of want to stay in and keep it cool and work, but when you go over there, you want to eat space cake and go party and go all these. You guys are so radically different from one another that I can't quite comprehend.
Well, I wish I could get him some space cake here. I don't know. I guess I could probably
No,
get.
we don't have space cake. We have barbecue.
Yeah, we do, and it's really good barbecue. And I don't know, maybe if I could probably get him some pound cake and put some Clorox in it, and maybe he'll have sort of the similar experience. But no, I wouldn't do that to him. I have been trying to take him.
Ghetto high is that, motherfucker? Jesus.
That's the kind of ghetto high you get when it's not readily available like it is over in Amsterdam. Over in Amsterdam, you can walk into a bakery and be like, hey, I'll have the cupcakes here and I'll have the muffins there. Oh, and please give me a slice of space cake. I mean,
I also hear that you can walk into a movie theater and get a glass of beer, not in no plastic cup, but a glass.
I'm going, man. That's it. I'm fucking going.
You think it's most, baby.
Man, how are you though? How you been doing?
Dude, I'm doing all right. I mean, it's a weekend. You know how it is.
It's not the weekend and all weekends, just a weekend.
It's a weekend, yeah.
That's kind of cool. It's good for relaxing, right?
Maxing, relaxing, yeah.
Now, did you go see Inception about 3 or 4 times this weekend?
I saw it once more this weekend.
Okay, because I knew you were going to see it at least twice before it was all said and done.
Well, maybe. I don't know. It's been a rough weekend with that. I don't know if you saw my review went up on Ain't It Cool News.
Yeah. And you loved it.
I do, mostly.
Okay, now I want people to hear us out. Because I tell you something. This is my Toy Story for you. You remember you were talking about how when you said you liked Toy Story a lot, but you had you had some problems with it, but you agreed it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
I am in the similar position here as you were back then. I understand your pain right now because I am telling people that I like this movie. I like this movie a lot. It is. I said in my reviews, the second best movie I've seen this summer. Reflecting on it, it's probably there are 2 movies that I've seen this summer, and they're probably the 2 best movies I've seen this year. But I had to tell people my problems with the film, which didn't make it this mind-blowing, better than sex film for me. And everybody was giving me that kind of shit. Well, I guess.
Oh, see, that is exactly where I am on Inception. Is I think it's really great, except for one 3 to 5 second shot in the film. And that actually kind of spoils things a bit for me and keeps it from being a masterpiece like people are talking about. But man, the Nolan fan base are rabid, man. They will accept nothing short of you calling it a masterpiece. If you don't, you will do what I did, which is spend the entire weekend getting yelled at by people, told that I'm wrong for saying it's really, really, really good, that it is perfect, and shut the fuck up otherwise. And it is crazy, man. These guys are rabid.
Wow, man. I didn't know. I guess I didn't. Did I read I thought I'd read your review.
No, but you wouldn't have read my review because you would have looked at it and said, motherfucker, this is 2,500 words. What the fuck? I wrote 1,800 words on the final shot of the film alone.
I'll go. I read some of your reviews sometimes, and I thought I had read that one. I thought maybe I didn't. Oh, I think I didn't, probably didn't finish reading it. Anyway, because the reason why I think this is because I did read some of your review, but I guess I didn't finish reading it because I was under the impression that you really loved the movie, and
I really really like the movie. I don't like the something that happens in the movie.
okay, and that was it for me. I told people that for me there were just a couple of things in there that didn't bring it up, as you said, that masterpiece. I really do like the movie. If it gets nominated for Best Picture, I have no problem with it. I mean, that's how much I like the film, but I'm not gonna say it's perfect because I didn't really it didn't resonate with me on an emotional level. I hate when
Hmm.
people say that, but it didn't. And
Well,
yeah,
there's it's not really an emotional film.
no, and I'm okay with that. But I'm just saying, as far as being perfect, a movie that makes me like really feel for these characters, which I didn't in this movie. I was concerned about them. I liked the concept of the film, but I didn't find myself really caring where these characters got out of this situation or not. But it worked what they had going. Okay, the other thing is that there was a part, now we can't really talk about it, but they got to a level of the film where it didn't even feel dreamlike to me anymore. It felt so, and somebody nailed it. I didn't really get to say it this way, but somebody said that it got to a point where it felt like, what was that? What's that video game? You know which one I'm talking about? Modern Warfare.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, this isn't really feeling like the dream world anymore. I really liked it when they got into those concept of dreams. And the moment though, our review went up, people outside my door like zombies. You motherfucking, you said this about Christopher Nolan, he's gone. And I'm just like, oh shit, sorry,
Well,
Jesus Christ.
when was the last time we had a film that was coming out and people were asking us months before the film came out how many Oscars we think it was going to win? I mean, how many times do we get questions like that? Like, how many do you think Christopher Nolan will win Best Picture this year? Do you think, for Inception? And they're asking us that like 2, 3 months out. People were convinced that it was going to be brilliant before anyone had even seen it.
Well,
And
I think even you had asked me one time because I don't know if you were speaking for the fans. You were just telling them what they were saying because you remember we had the discussion of what do we think some of the biggest movies will be this summer as far as box office gross.
mhm.
And Inception came up, and I was like, I think it'll open up. And it'll open up where I thought it would open up. We'll talk about that later. But I said, do I think it'll be like the biggest grossing movie this summer? No. And you're like, man, there's a million Christopher Nolan fans out there who are right now cursing your name,
And
burning
they
your image
were.
in
In fact,
festivals.
I loved reading the comments where they're like, "Stop reading my mind. Get out of my head. I'm banging my head on the desk right now because of what Corey said." They were angry at you, man. How dare you profane the name of Christopher Nolan?
I'm just being real. I mean, that's what we do here. We don't talk about what we like and what we wish would happen. When we talk about numbers and figures, I can't project what I want a film to do. I would try to
Yeah.
like tell you how a film would do based on trends
And I definitely feel you. I mean, that was me 2 years ago, where I wanted Batman to do really well. I wanted nothing more than a great Batman film that would do well, but I was convinced that it wasn't going to do huge numbers or break box office records. And everybody's like, "You're crazy! It's going to break box office records." And I was wrong. I was dead wrong. In fact, it was just the opposite. It broke unbelievable amounts of records, and it was like, wow. That was unexpected on my part. So this time, I'm not underestimating Nolan.
Yeah, no, I really I
And his
would.
fan base, man. Wow. I have no. They put remember what the Tarantino fan base used to be like back in the day, and how it used to drive you and Leon nuts.
Yes,
And you
yes.
guys you were like, "Motherfucker, that is not a good movie," and we're like, "Yes, it is. Tarantino's a genius," and we were the zombie mass of Tarantino lovers. Well, this is what that is. I feel like that's payback for all the time I spent as a Tarantino. And
And back then, even then, people misunderstood me. I never see, even right now, I had problems with Kill Bill 1 and 2, but I didn't, it's not that I did not like them. I liked them. I didn't think they were as you say, I wasn't as rabid a follower of those films as other people were. So yeah, I understand exactly what you're talking about, though. Man, you motherfuckers are crazy out there. Not you,
oh,
Carl. No, you,
they put us to shame, man. These guys they're organized and they're crazy. I have not gotten this much email since Happy Feet.
really?
Yeah, I have gotten over 50 emails this weekend. Which I love that I got this much email, and I love the way it is because about 80-90% of the email starts off with "you're wrong and here's why," and everybody lays out what the film's about, and everybody has a different theory. Like, I have almost no duplicate theories in my mailbox. Like, everybody, I have read some batshit insane theories about what Inception is about, which completely and utterly reinforces what I wrote about. That there's one shot in the movie that creates a near infinite number of possibilities, kind of like a quantum event in the film that creates so much of what this film could be about that nobody's seeing the same movie, but everyone's calling it brilliant based upon their own interpretation. And I love that people dig that, but I don't. I don't want at the end of the movie for the director to go, okay, you decide what you want the movie to be about. And that's what I felt that this film did, which is why it's just because I love everything that's there. And I love everything that's there until he has that moment where he's like, oh yeah, you get to decide what the movie's about. And it created a very weird experience seeing it again this weekend. I actually hated watching it the second time. I'm hoping to enjoy it the third time I get around to watching it, but watching it a second time, I spent the whole movie examining every clue. It was like sifting through a puzzle box, but knowing that not all the pieces are there. So I was literally going, okay, well, that theory shot down because of this shot.
Oh, God damn it. Thank you. I got to thank you, man. If you were here, I would kiss your hand like Don Carlisle, because that's what I told people. I said, I said, it's not that I don't get it. I think I get it well enough to where even on the first viewing, things didn't make sense to me. And not because they didn't make sense, like I didn't understand, but if you really put all these things together, they don't really, one theory knocks down another.
Yeah, well, in fact, that's the thing, is there are 4 major theories. If you guys go and check out my review on Ain't It Cool News, if you're like, what are you talking about? I don't get it. Massa Worm loves Inception except for the part that he doesn't, and that's like the title of the review. So I'm not kidding. So essentially, there are 4 major theories, and every other theory falls under one of those 4. Of what the movie could be about. But there is something in the film that discounts every single one of those theories. There is not a single theory that isn't discounted by something else in the movie. And so you end up with a film that is about everything and nothing all at the same time. And that's what I think is frustrating to some people, because it did feel so open-ended and awesome without what happens. And when you see that happen, it just kind of it's almost like the hammer that didn't need to be there. It's like, do you get it? And they hit you on the head, and it's like, oh, well, now that you've hit me on the head with a hammer, and I've had to look at all this, and this. Wow, I guess that doesn't hold up the way I was thinking it held up, and it just kind of it alters the experience. And so that's why I'm not madly in love with it.
I'm so scared right now. The way we're talking, I'm afraid one of these crazy sons of bitches is gonna kidnap my mother, hold her ransom.
It's gonna be Mr. J.
Yeah. One of them,
and he's gonna taunt you over via webcam.
Mr. J. I'm afraid of these people who went crazy over this have been like, they've scared me more than some of our craziest fans on the site. And I really.
Are you being serious? Or are you joking?
I wonder sometimes the way people get pissed about things. Like when they come in, because Leon is the one that's really been getting the threats. Like because he's the one that says, it's a matinee, and a low matinee for me.
Whoa!
And people.
How dare he? He gave it a matinee. That crazy son of a bitch. Does he want to get killed?
I'm trying to call him. I haven't heard from him all weekend. I'm afraid we've seen the last of him.
Oh. Tell me at least Cyrus gave it a full price.
Oh yeah, he did. He was on the border of better than sex with it. But I'm afraid it's gonna be like that scene out of Batman where I'm gonna like open my blinds one day and Leon's gonna be swinging from a rope and hit the glass. You know, they're gonna have him like in a Leonardo DiCaprio mask. And these guys, man, it's one of those. It is the Dark Knight. Back then when the Dark Knight came out, I felt like,
remember
there was one
what happened to Mark Sablov. Mark Sablov actually got death threats for giving it 2.5 stars.
And see, I am beyond the point. What I want to stress to people, this is just another one of those examples of, hey, look, regardless of what I think about the film, if you got your enjoyment out of it, especially with a movie like this, I'm very pleased to hear that people are getting different experiences from this movie. I think that's one of the brilliant things about this film. But when it's all over with, it is still a movie. It is different for everybody. So if somebody saw it and didn't like it, I came to peace with that during Batman. As much as I love Batman, which is one of the most perfect movies ever to me, The Dark Knight, that is.
Mm-hmm.
If I ever heard somebody say they didn't like the movie, if they really meant that they didn't like the movie and they just weren't trying to be some asshole who was trying to go against the grain, if they really gave me good reasons for not liking the movie and they weren't shitty about it, I'm like, what am I to say? I'm not in your head. You didn't like the film. Fine.
You know what it comes down to is like when that happens with me, I always feel bad for the people. I don't get angry. It's like, what? What do you mean you don't like it? It's like, oh man, you don't like it? Well, that sucks. We can't really experience the film together like that. Oh well. I don't get the people who get like super fucking mad. And they're around. I've been called an idiot and an asshole more times than usual.
Than usual.
Well, come on, we're film critics. It's part of the job. I mean,
Oh.
film critics and politicians are the only two careers where you can walk down the street where people will walk up to you and say, "Oh, hey, I read your stuff or watch your show all the time. I love you guys. You don't know shit about movies, but I love watching you." And and it's the only job where people will talk shit to your face. Whereas other people will be like, "Oh, it's that guy from that movie. I fucking hate that guy." Oh, no, but people will walk up to you and tell you. People will send you emails and say, "You're a fucking asshole. You clearly didn't get it." But man, this is over the
Oh
edge.
yeah, I got it before any of this other stuff came out. I was at a movie theater over at the Highline. Came in one day. Guy who came up, he's like, hey man, you Corey, man. You that guy that does that movie thing. I was like, yeah, and I came in all happy, getting ready to shake his hand. I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? What's your name? Who were you to tell me what I should think about a fucking movie? I'm like, oh, I never told you what you should think about a movie. I tell you what I think about a film, and you can go and share your opinion with whoever you like to. Also, it just so happens I'm in a forum where I get to talk to a lot of people. Never said that, man. But the guy was belligerent, and you're right. It's one of those jobs where one day you'll hear from somebody and be like, "Love you, man." Next day, asshole. So whatever. I got a thick skin about it. There was only one guy that I fucked with who came on, who I only fucked with him because he did not. I knew he didn't listen to the end of the review, and I said, he came in and said, "You and Leon, you guys are just blah 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 because you didn't like the movies. That makes you la 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 la." And I was like, all right, in between the la 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 la, you said I didn't like the movie. I challenge you. I dare you to go back and find out where I said I did not like that movie. After all the praise I gave it, you tell me where I said I didn't like it. Fuck it, I will throw in a trip to Disney World and $1,000 if you can tell me where I said I didn't like it. And he had to come back and say, oh yeah, I didn't. I listened to the rest of it because I was so angry and I had just a knee-jerk reaction to what you were talking about. And I was like, yeah.
I had one guy who, in response to my review on Ain't It Cool News, wrote an entire big thing on, well, if you feel this way about Inception, how do you feel about what Paul Verhoeven did in the Schwarzenegger film Total Recall, and goes into how Total Recall is similar and such. And I had to come in and go, dude, if you read the review, I actually spend a whole paragraph talking about Total Recall and how this applies to Total Recall. And there's kind of the sheepish, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
gonna
motherfucker,
happen,
if you're
man.
gonna comment,
Yeah.
do me the justice to hear what I have to say before you tell me why I'm wrong. That's
Well,
all I ask.
well, can I ask you a question here? Do you think every year we get one movie like this where
No.
the anticipation is so hot for this film that you know going into it that if you talk shit about it, you're going to be a villain. You think we get an event film like this one time a year?
I don't know. I mean, this time we had two.
Yeah, with Toy
Sure.
Story in this.
Yeah, I mean, Armand White, and then that other guy, the one other guy who on Rotten Tomatoes put up his negative review. Um, People just went apeshit about it. And they're like, how dare they?
Well, like
Uh,
last year, think
Even
about.
those were negative reviews. They weren't even like like I didn't catch flack for saying, "Hey, look, I really really like the film. I just don't love it." I didn't catch hell for that. This time I did. But I can't remember a film last year that had this kind of
Well, I
anticipation.
was going to ask you, Iron Man. Do you think Iron Man would have carried this kind of weight where if anybody said anything bad about Iron Man, people would have jumped on their shit for it?
No, because lots of people said bad stuff about Iron Man.
Okay.
I mean,
So
keep in mind that there were lots of negative reviews. There were reviews like mine that are like, look, I really, really like the film, but I feel that we don't hate the villain enough, and as a result, we don't feel as satisfied as we should during the end fight.
mhm.
And yeah, everyone's like, oh yeah, no, totally see that. It didn't have that kind of anticipation.
Is it something to where people anticipate a film, and when the film comes out, and I mean, because really, it's just a few. I think that something like Inception is it. I have to say it is so well made. I mean, Christopher Nolan
Oh God, yeah.
is he's one of the. I told somebody like he's one of the top three best directors out there right now, and when you have somebody who has a string of making films with good direction and they finally lead up to something where the movie has just maybe a few flaws, but his direction is so well and everything is so well executed, and the script is so ambitious, and then when it comes out and it's also financially successful, or at least it has an impressive opening. I mean, is that something with all those things combined to make people turn on folks? Like, look at all the critical praise for this. Look at how the money's going for this. If you can't get on the bandwagon and say that this movie is perfect, then you're the one that's fucked up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I'm not. I want. I kind of want to say that Nolan is definitely one of the best directors out there right that now. I don't know if I'd put him top three. Um, but then again, in thinking about it, I'm trying to think of who I would put as a top three.
I mean, just
Um,
today, right now, who's putting out consistently well-directed, good material, even if it doesn't always hit the mark, just for trying to do something that is not motivated by anything else but pure creativity.
yeah, I don't know. That's something I'd have to think about. That's something I haven't really ranked, and I like Nolan a lot, but I mean, personally, I mean, and this is something that came up, last week, was I still have some enmity towards Nolan over Insomnia. Um, and it's odd. I got a lot of flack from people telling me, "Hey, you don't know what you're talking about. Insomnia was perfect." And then I would say, "Did you see the original?" They're like, "Well, no, I haven't seen the original." It's like, so you're the guy who will sit there and complain to me for an hour about how remakes are awful and how dare I like American remakes of foreign films, but then you'll watch Christopher Nolan's version and not the original and tell me that Christopher Nolan made the better version. And it's like, well, okay, maybe I should go watch the other one. So I don't, Dark Knight is one of the best films of the last decade, easily. I think that's great, but and I think Memento is great, though the logic doesn't hold up when you actually start breaking the film down. But I think
Yeah.
it's a great film. Um, but I like The Prestige. I think the Prestige is kind of genius on a certain level, but it's not a great film.
That was another
And
movie. He makes these movies where they require you to put things together. Because I'm thinking about Memento. I'm thinking about which I wasn't a huge fan of. I liked the movie though. I wasn't a big fan of The Prestige. And then I'm thinking about this movie here, and he kind of sets these. I think that with his scripts, he's setting these traps for himself. But they work. Obviously, people love thinking about these
oh, his
movies.
yeah, his fan base love it.
Yeah.
They absolutely love it. But I yeah no the you bring up the key about Nolan that has been bugging me this weekend, which is that he relies on the audience to fill in the blanks and create the story themselves, but he creates this ambiance, this kind of feel that what you are figuring out is the actual answer. Like I got very few emails this weekend which people say, hey, you know what? Well, here's my theory. Here's what I think. It was a lot of people of, here's what it's about. Let me
Hmm.
tell you, because clearly you didn't get it. And then they'll lay out something that I can, easily contradict. Uh, but they believe with all their heart that this is what the movie was about and that this is what he intended. And I'm looking at this unsure that he intended any of that at all, or that he knew that those were possibilities, but that he likes making films that leave possibilities out there for the audience to embrace, and that they fill in the blanks with the story that they want to see and then attribute it to him, and thus he gets called a genius.
Well, you know what? There's something very, very intelligent about that, very calculated about that. If you
Hmm.
if you if you can even trick people into filling in the blanks for you, and I don't know, I think he really, I don't think I don't think it's like a parlor trick that he's trying to pull. I think he really believes that all this stuff makes sense, and he's pulling it all together to make sense. But somebody, I mean, a little bit of it is interpretive, and sometimes some people interpret that as, okay, it makes sense to me because I can fill in what I think here. And somebody like me, I'm like, I see something completely different there that doesn't make sense. I actually thought something like Inception, it got a little silly in some parts because of that. But hey, if people can actually interpret something that really makes the movie for them, I have to give Christopher Nolan credit for that. At least it makes you think and walk away with something a little more satisfied. At least talking about, at least
Yep.
even getting into a heated debate where people hate you. That's something, man. You got to rise in people some kind of way.
Oh yeah, and I would never say that he's not a good director or that he's not incredibly smart. I think what he's doing is incredibly smart. I think it's not easy to pull that off. There are a number of directors that do attempt it and fail all the time. He's the guy that can pull it off, and he's kind of he reminds me of the character from The Prestige, in which he's pulling off this huge feat of illusion, and uh, and once you realize what the trick is, you definitely get it, but at the same time there's so many people that buy into the magic of the trick of what he does that he gets called brilliant, and this gets called a masterpiece. And I'm not certain if this is his masterpiece. I really honestly think that The Dark Knight is his masterpiece. I would argue that The Dark Knight by far is a better film than this is. I
Yeah.
still think this is a really, really good film.
Yeah, I do too. Hey, let me ask you something then and see if you agree with me on this. One of the things that I do like about Christopher Nolan, looking at this science fiction film that he's done here and the comic book fantasy film that he did with Dark Knight, I there he for me, he is a rare director who can take these fantasy scenarios and really put them in a world where I really believe in it. Like I'm watching Inception and I'm thinking I believe that this could happen. It might not make sense, but I'm believing this world. It really reminds me of the real world here. And the same way with the Dark Knight, I think that's one of his biggest strengths. I mean, do you agree on that?
Well, yeah, that's one of the main things that he does. When you watch the special features on the various discs, and the listen to the people talk about how they made Dark Knight and how they made Batman Begins, he was very much into, let's throw out everything that is silly or doesn't make sense. And like, he wanted to throw out the bat grappling hook. And the guys are like, you can't do that. That's part of who Batman is. And he goes, it doesn't make any sense. If you can make it make sense, then we can do it. And they worked to the point to where it made sense. And he wanted Batman in the real world to make sense. And I guarantee you that is part of what he did here. Now, granted, there's still, when you take a close look at it, there are some kind of silly aspects to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really do have these magical briefcases that they plug into your arm, and all of a sudden you're all sharing a dream world that actually feels more like the real world than it does as a dream world. That it's like, hey, look, we're walking around a city and shooting guns at one another, and nothing weird or dreamlike's actually happening, but we're buying it as a dream anyway.
Yeah.
When you break it down on that level, he does. I almost think that he does it to a fault, because there is no crazed weirdness in the dream world. That it is very much,
Mm-hmm.
Nolan's dream world is just reality where getting killed doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
I
that was something else that I was saying too. Yeah, I see that. Because really that's that. But I kind of made a joke about it, but I wrote out because I was like, where's all the dream stuff? Where's all the midgets and the monkeys and whatnot? And that was
and
kind of
and
silly the
the
way I was.
naked ladies throwing pickles at me.
Yeah, there you go. Where was that? The naked pickle ladies. No, I didn't want it to get crazy like a David Lynch movie, but you're right. I was like, there's I don't know, there would be something cool here if it just didn't turn into a shootout. I mean, I really is if they were able to play with this just a tad bit more to remind me that this is a dream, which I lost sight of that after a while. But again, that is something that worked for people. For me, it didn't. I don't want to project my expectations on what other people got from the movie. But just don't. When I say that, don't give me shit for what I think either, though. God damn
Oh
it.
no, dude. The very nature that we mentioned Inception and that we mentioned that it wasn't perfect. That this is probably going to be our most commented a Coco of the year, and as a result, people are going to tell us what idiots we are because clearly we didn't get the film.
Yeah.
And
This-
and and maybe just maybe we'll end up being defended by MDS, and that's our lot in life. Is that it's like finally someone agrees with me.
See, MDS, nobody thinks you're crazy. A dick sometimes, but not crazy. No, not even that. I don't think you are. I wasn't asking for too much. I mean, that weird dream where you wake up and when you're not wake up, but when you're like go to school and you find out you're naked. I mean, I don't know if that would have been silly. Have Leonardo DiCaprio sitting up there talking to the guys, look down, his dingling hanging all out, and he's like, "Oh, see, still in the dream, y'all." I don't know what they could have done. I'm just saying that I wish they would have tried a little something more creative in the dream world. And that if I mean it's a dream. I'm not asking for dreams to be reality. You know, if you're going to a dream, even
Well, I don't know. The third dream level was straight out of a GI Joe cartoon.
and even that was the most realistic GI Joe episode I had ever seen.
Yeah,
So
it definitely kind of trumped GI Joe. It's kind of like this is how you do it, motherfucker.
yeah, it was. It's just, man. See, this is one of those movies again. Maybe it's brilliant in the sense that we could go on all night talking about
Oh no, I mean
all this kind of
there's
stuff. It's
the
just,
thing is there's a lot to be said for this film. The fact that we're talking about criticisms of the film is, it sounds like we have all these problems when really we really like the film.
I
But
think
it is
it's,
one of those films to talk about, and it's the only film of the season that's like this.
yeah.
Like even Toy Story 3, which everybody just loves the shit out of. Even then, it's like, oh, I loved it. It made me want to play with my toys, and well, I loved it, and it made me want to play. I mean, there's really nothing to discuss.
Well,
There's not a lot to say.
if it's funny because if people go back and listen to what I said about Toy Story, it was kind of the same thing. I love the movie, but you know what? I'm actually kind of like you in that sense. There was one scene in the movie where I was kind of brought down. I was like, I think Pixar is beyond this, and they put it in here. And for me, that's not a perfect movie. One of the best of the year, probably the best of the year, but still not a perfect film. Sorry, but nobody gave me shit over that. So I don't know. Really, people it's getting to that point where everybody has that one film that comes out every now and then that is just you better not say shit about that movie, otherwise you ain't a real critic. So whatever. Anyway, you want to get to the top five, my man?
The top five brought to you by
Bill. Thought I'd join in on you right there.
Spill.
The motion picture. All right, number five is, speaking of
Number five
which,
film.
Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3 still there. Still
Yes.
kicking the crap out of grown-ups.
Yes, it is. It brought in $11.7 million this weekend, and after 5 weeks, it has grossed $362.7 million, making it probably the most successful movie this year so far.
Indeed.
You want to go to number four?
The number 4 film.
You sound like Kermit right there. I think number four film.
Number 4 film is
Yay! Twilight Eclipse, $13.5 million. It brought in, bringing its gross up to $265 million, and that's after 3 weeks. Which is what? Would that be the second highest grossing movie this year then?
you know what? I'm not sure. I have not looked at the list lately.
Okay.
It might be.
I would say we don't know, but I would say it's a damn good guess.
No, because Iron Man is up.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So
And Iron Man did say what you will about this film, but it ended up doing the same numbers as the first Iron Man.
yes, it did. Because I actually made that mistake last week of saying I don't know how the business did. I think it fell a little short of Iron Man, but no, it's doing just as well, I believe. So number three. You want to sing it?
The number 3 film.
Love it, boy. Sexy. Is The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Brought in disappointing $17.4 million. I guess does that include?
No, that doesn't include the Wednesday opening.
Okay, it does not, because if you include the Wednesday opening, that brings his gross up to $24.5 million. A note about this film: this is the second Bruckheimer disappointment this summer.
You know what? And this one I almost feel is Disney's fault.
In what way?
They embargoed the hell out of this one. They weren't letting anybody. It was another one of those. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to review it. You're not allowed to tweet about it. You're not allowed to put it on Facebook. You are not allowed to. Rule number one: you cannot talk about Fight Club. I mean, it was ridiculous because the trailers looked so bad. I mean, the trailers made this thing look like a really terrible movie. Nobody was excited about this. And then a bunch of us saw it, and we're like, wow, that's a really surprisingly good film. I had a lot of fun with it. So much better than Prince of Persia.
That's you, not us.
Well, yeah, but no, there were a lot of us that felt this way. And we weren't allowed to go out and say, hey, you know what? Now, it's not a perfect film. And not even close. In fact, I in my review, I discussed exactly where they fucked up in the film. Because they made one terrible mistake that actually undercut the whole film, but it was a fun film and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying it's at least fun. I thought it was kind of bland myself. I think the other problem is that they're pushing for Bruckheimer, it seems, to get that next Pirates of the Caribbean out there to try and jumpstart something. I mean, I think they wanted to get a series of Prince of Persia movies out there. I think they wanted to start something with the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Let's see how this guy evolves as something similar to how Harry Potter is. Let's see how he grows into his magic powers. And I don't see either one of those movies really hitting that second film.
No.
So.
Well, but the main problem with Sorcerer's Apprentice is the movie opens with a 2 to 3 minute narration that completely and utterly obliterates everything that follows. Because it opens up, it says, here's what happened 1,200 years ago, and here is what is prophesied to happen. And they tell all this stuff, and then you spend the next 2 acts of the film watching Jay Baruchel learn all of this information. Like they wanted to handhold the audience through the film. So it'd be like if Star Wars opened up with a narration by Obi-Wan Kenobi going, years ago, Darth Vader had 2 children, Luke and Leia. And Luke, they were split up, and Leia became a princess, and Luke went off to live on Tatooine, where I watched over him, waiting for him to come of age so I could teach him the ways of the Jedi so that he would one day save his sister, defeat his father, and overthrow the Empire and save the galaxy.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then you open up with the firing ships. And now you know who Luke Skywalker is. You know who his father is. You know all this stuff. And you're like, why am I even watching this at this point? And that's exactly what they do here. They lay out. If you see this, skip the first narration. When it comes up, cover your ears, close your eyes, pay no attention. And then once it opens up in present day with a little boy going into a shop, that's when you can pay attention again. And the movie's fine. It's a really nice story. It's cute. It's funny. I love watching all of these great actors just chew up the scenery and have a good time playing these vastly powerful wizards. It's just a fun summer fantasy film. And it totally just gets undercut by that. Hey, here's everything you're going to learn over the next 2 acts.
You know, I'm glad people are liking the movie, but I also think there's a problem with Disney just trying to cannibalize so many of its properties. I mean, to me, it might have been a fun film for some people, but to me, it was really a bland attempt to just do something with The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which was made very popular by the Mickey Mouse segment and Fantasia. I mean, that's where The Sorcerer's Apprentice came from. And to do this is a very thrown together attempt to like make something out of that. And I probably would have been able to accept it a little bit more had they not tried to throw the scene in there of that classic scene of the mops that go crazy.
You say classic scene, but that's all that original sequence was.
Like, I think the movie is so different from that they don't need that in there. They could have done without it because it was the worst scene in the movie, I thought, and I don't think that it helped that movie at all. But if that scene wasn't in there, probably, and it's not even because I'm thinking like, oh, I'm this Disney purist and because they stole that from themselves. I hate this. No, it's not that. It was just done bad. It felt like it was inserted in there because they had to do it, and that was the problem. They felt like they had to do it.
But don't you think that it will win an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor
From who?
from Nicolas Cage's hairpiece?
Oh man, that hairpiece has had
That's
it
the
coming
best
for
hairpiece
years.
he's had in a long time. And I look like real hair. It was curly and wavy and moved, and I totally bought it.
That hairpiece is one of the most versatile actors we have out there today. So yes,
It was
yes,
such a subtle performance compared to everyone else's. I love how Alfred Molina is just like literally just the mustache twirling villain. He even twirls his mustache at points. He is literally that villain, and he's like, ah, yes, we must find the doll.
The hair in this movie has had the best performances this year. I think I'm putting my ballot in the box right now for Nicolas Cage's hairpiece to finally get the recognition it deserves.
You know what? And yet you're gonna get the Nolan fanboys who are angry at you because you didn't say Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Wait a minute, the guy from
Inception.
the guy from Inception who also had a great mustache in Bronson. And that's what, you know what? Thank you.
And was in Star Trek.
Nemesis. People don't even remember that he was the villain in Star Trek Nemesis. And I have to say that is one of the great things that I did like about this movie that I think is getting greatly overlooked is Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy he was overlooked last year for his performance in Bronson. If you don't know what movie we're talking about, you don't know what guy we're talking about. Look it up.
We just slipped back into Inception again.
I know, but I'm gonna try and like not get into this. But people, look up Tom Hardy in this movie Bronson. He looks vastly different than he does in Inception. But I'm telling you, that guy is a brilliant actor. I hope that he gets recognized for the brilliant actor he is. I hope that he continues to get big roles.
So do you think he should beat Nicolas Cage's hairpiece?
No, I do not.
that hairpiece is so convincing.
It has too much history, that hairpiece. Been too overlooked all this time, so no. But he's a close second, though. So, anyway, speaking of second, you want to get into
wait, now hold on. You didn't even mention Teresa Palmer.
Don't even know who that is. Who is that chick?
That's the hot blonde chick that you were staring at the whole movie.
Oh, in the Sorcerer's Apprentice?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I actually mentioned her name in the review. Yeah. What about her, though? I mean, she looks good, but...
Well, you and I haven't talked about a film or you haven't mentioned the hottest piece of ass in the movie in so long that I felt I needed to bring that up so that I could feel some, completeness to our discussion.
I'm so horny for Nicolas Cage's hair right now.
I need to know whether or not you would do her.
What do you mean? Do you need to know whether or not I would? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No,
Is that a trick question?
It is. Would you make love to that or Nicolas Cage's hairpiece?
No, that is a trick question. The answer is I would do Nicolas Cage's hairpiece before I would do that chick. But
no, see, it's a trick question because you do them both at the same time. You do it while wearing Nicolas Cage's hairpiece.
No, I'd have her wear it. Look, wear the hair.
Well played, sir. Well played. And now the number 2 film
is Despicable Me.
Despicable Me.
Which this weekend has brought in $32.7 million, bringing its tally up to $118.4 million. An interesting thing, this movie cost $69 million to make, and believe me, it shows, because really, I like the movie a lot, but there's some scenes in it that look piss poor. But I'm really happy to see that this movie's doing well. It kind of connects to Inception for me because, well, I'll tell you what, since we're talking about that, let's go ahead and just move on to the number 1 film.
Well, before we go there,
yes,
let's just note that Despicable Me is really surprising. The studio is really happy with it. They did not think it was going to do as well as it did, and it has done incredibly well for their expectations and for what it cost. And overall, it is a great success for them.
Good for them, because the movie is one of those rare cute movies that works. And
bringing us to the number 1 film.
Bringing us to number 1. Inception, with $60.4 million. The movie is good business with $160 million budget. I'm not saying this because people think I hate the movie. I don't. It's. I'll be curious to see how the movie performs because while the Christopher Nolan fans have seen it and they love how the movie works and they love how the movie makes them think, it'll be curious to see, and Carla maybe can give us some insight on this, how the average audience members are going to take it after this week, because some people are debating whether or not this is the kind of movie that is so confusing to some people, it's going to ward off some fans or some audiences.
It's possible. I don't know. I'm really unsure of what's going to happen. I mean, it's uh, you can never tell with audiences. I mean, you just never can. And this is one of those that really straddles the line. If it has a huge drop off next week, that wouldn't surprise me. But it also wouldn't surprise me if it did continue to do really well. This is one of those X Factor movies where it's just gonna. I don't know. It's so hard to predict.
Yeah,
It
it is.
really is because it's not. There's no telling how Middle America is going to respond to this, and I certainly can't. I want to talk about my experience seeing it at a regular paid screening last night, but I saw it at the Alamo Draft House with people who were all standing outside with beers and coffee afterwards, having deep discussions on it. So I didn't see it with a regular audience either. I saw it with the type of audience that goes to the Draft House. So I have no idea how a regular average audience is going to respond to that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to box office wise come close to that $160 million budget. And if it does, I'll be happy with it. I don't think it's going to do that. I think it's going to drop off a little bit. I think that the film will be seen coming up again, being talked about during Oscar time, whether it be for script, whether it be for best movie, whether it be for best director, maybe some nominations for some performances out of there. I don't know, but I do think that it's one of those movies where I don't even know if it's going to do as well a as enough business as Despicable Me, because Despicable Me is a family film that can bring in an audience over and over again. One of the things I want to say about those two films, though, is that I think we're seeing something, and it kind of goes against what I'm saying, because I'm always saying box office wise, oh, we're at the point. I have almost a cynical attitude. If it's not a sequel, not a prequel, not a property, don't expect it to perform crazy well. But we see two movies in the number one spot in a movie that was previously in the number one spot where their original properties are original pieces of work. Despicable Me is not based on anything else. It's the first movie of what will probably be a series, knowing how Hollywood works. But it's not a sequel to anything. It's just a nice first attempt from Universal at a family animated feature. Inception, I guess the pull of somebody who directed one of the biggest movies of all time, yeah, he can come in and throw his weight around and get something like Inception made. But then it still goes to the fact that that's an original script right there. It's an original film coming out in the middle of the summer. It's really almost like an art film with a huge budget.
But it's a PG-13 action film that has the highest rating of any film like it of the year.
Yeah.
There's no film that of its type that comes close to this much critical praise. I mean, it's not as much as people are calling it perfect and brilliant and a masterpiece. It's still only at 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, or 33 Rotten reviews. Not all from people like Armand White. And
Yeah.
it's there are some pretty big people who dislike this movie, like A.O. Scott.
Yeah, from the New
Uh,
York Times.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There
Uh,
was another guy that was on NPR saying he didn't get why everybody was going crazy over. He liked it, but yeah, it's not.
Salon
Yeah,
Salon wasn't into it. Wall Street Journal gave it a rotten review. Uh,
wow.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean this is not the people who dislike the film. These are not all lightweights who are just who just didn't like it. There's some big people, but by the same token, as much critical praise as it is getting, and the fact that it is PG-13 and it is an action film, and audiences are the people who are talking about it are talking about it a lot. I mean, Jesus Christ, we're almost all of a Coco is going to be about Inception. I
Yeah,
mean, we should just call it Inception.
and how they're gonna kill us.
Memento. Uh, but yeah, they are pretty much going to kill the shit out of us for not loving it and worshiping it and getting down on our knees to blow Nolan with them, because their mouths are getting tired.
Well, if he paid me enough, the guy is rich.
No, but you know what? I don't know if I totally agree with you. I think it'll make it. I think domestically it'll make its money back. I just don't know if it's going to get up to $300 million territory, or if it's even going to go Dark Knight territory. If it will keep going and just keep going all the way through August with remaining in the top 5 and doing incredibly well. I don't know how many times these people are going to go see it again and again every weekend.
Yeah, let me just say that on paper, because if a movie reaches its budget, it's still like this movie cost $160 million to make. If we see on paper that it reached $160 million, it hasn't really profited. There's some more there's money they have to make up for budget and all that kind of, I mean, for marketing, all that kind of stuff. But I will say this: if it does get high enough, I think it will come close to that $160 million mark, and that's it. It won't go over that, if I had to take a guess.
Oh, well, we will see.
Yeah.
For that right there, that's what's going to get your ass chewed out in thank you very much. You have now stepped in bullets.
I've sealed our fate.
Nolan, and you're the guy who fucking hates Nolan enough that you think his movie's going to fail.
Well, you go out and get your bulletproof vest now, man. I got mine. Getting my helmet tomorrow. I'm just telling you, I'm prepared for it. So, you want to get into some tweets and emails?
Some tweets and emails. Yeah, sure. Let's see.
Tweet.
You know what? Here's a weird one, and I'm glad this came up. Somebody asked, "What do you guys make of the recent Old Spice commercials?" Seems like Corey has some competition.
I love those commercials. I love them.
Now, did you see what they did this week with the viral marketing that happened online?
No, I did not.
This one of the most brilliant pieces of viral marketing in recent history. What they did is Old Spice put out the call to accept questions, that the Old Spice guy was going to answer questions, and on one day they dumped all of these things on YouTube in which they answered questions to 4chan, to Reddit, to YouTubers, to all these places online, and mention the people and mention the sites online while they answered these batshit crazy questions. And he was hilarious. You can find him on YouTube. They're all the guy standing in a towel in his bathroom and answering the questions as the Old Spice guy. And what was brilliant was every Dig, Reddit, all of the aggregators, Fark, they all had links to it, to each of them, with Old Spice guy answers space shuttle question, and Old Spice guy does. Literally every place online had the words Old Spice everywhere, and everybody was having a good time with it. I think they sold more deodorant and aftershave than ever before because they made Old Spice cool to teenagers again. It was the strangest, most brilliant thing. We're going to have to smell Old Spice from here on out. But what do you think, Corey? He really, I look at him and I'm like, wow, that's Corey if Corey were really sexy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what pisses me off about that. I like the commercials, man. First of all, the guy is very humorous. The guy, it's a great bit of casting right there. I like how race did not play a big deal in the marketing, because a lot of times, at least from my point of view, I think they've been afraid to make black men sexy to anybody else other than black audiences, and this doesn't seem to be that case here. Of course, he's not in the in the commercial with anybody else.
Wait, he's black? What the hell was he doing on a horse? Black men don't get on horses. They don't climb mountains. They don't go to the Arctic. There are things black men don't do, and getting on a horse is one of them.
When we discovered how sexy man riding on horses was to white women, then that's when we did it. Yeah, so we adopted it then. Yeah, there's some things we will overcome. We overcame our fear. Water, dogs, and now horses, and we're on there picking up every little blonde white girl out there. No, the commercials are great. I was hoping that they would bring the guy back. And I'm going to try and find out that guy's name so I can destroy him. No, I was hoping they would bring those commercials back again and keep it kind of going until, of course, it runs its course and it gets old, because I can see those commercials getting very old, which would be smart. Just make a series of them and get out of there. Don't keep it going and to the point where we're oversaturated with T-shirts of that guy. I'm on a horse.
You know what? No, I think he needs to do it for a little longer, and then he needs to do what Eddie Steeples did. And parlay that into a full-on career.
Yeah.
Because you remember, for those of you, Eddie Steeples, of course, Crabman from My Name Is Earl, and he's been in a number of films. But the thing with Eddie Steeples was he got his big break was he was the Office Max rubber band man.
Yeah.
And he had the chance to re-up. They really wanted him to re-up, and he made the really wise choice to pass on that and take this pilot that he had going on, My Name is Earl. And that, of course, is where everybody knows him now as Crabman, and that's, made his career. So I would really like to see this guy because he's funny. That was one of the things with all of these things that he did for all these videos online. He nails them. He really does a great job, and you can tell that it's a character and not because no human being actually sounds like this.
Yeah, of course not.
But I think he's genuinely funny, and I'd really like to see this guy try something else.
Oh yeah, yeah, and
Plus,
it's not unusual for a guy like
do?
that.
He's a good-looking guy. Man.
Yeah, exactly. And what are you gonna do? I mean, if you go out there and you look at the careers of several actors, you'll be surprised at what a lot of them have done. You'll see people like in educational videos. You'll see people who had done commercials. You'll see people who are in the background in commercials. There's a girl
at the Draft House last night. The trailer reel had the reel before the show. It was all about dreams, but they would cut up all this dream information with all these old commercials that Leonardo DiCaprio did in the 90s.
Yeah, see, it's not unusual for people to make that jump, and that guy's a good candidate to do that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him doing some TV shows at first and then making his way up to movies. But we'll see. Some people get famous on commercials and other things, and they just kind of drop out. He's one of those guys I hope will somehow make it. Anyway, you got anything else? I don't have any really good.
No. I just put out the call and I'm getting good stuff. Joe Woko asks.
Joe Woko.
Do you guys think Inception has a chance to clean up at the Academy Awards next year?
Man, are you serious? Why'd you do that?
I'm serious.
I'm not answering
I just had to share that. We already.
If you don't know by now, if you can't decipher from all the shit we talked about Inception before and figure that out, then sorry.
Well, they're not listening. We're not doing this live, so they have no idea. But
I'm just saying, if you get to this point and you're mad because we did not answer the question right here, or maybe you're like thinking to yourself, "Oh God damn it, don't you answer that?" Maybe you're relieved.
Unknown 32-1 asks,
I don't know
has
him.
Leon entered the Geek Witness Protection Program?
If his ass is not dead yet, I think we all are about to enter that Geek Witness Protection Program. If next week Spill is taken over just by Cyrus and the co-host 3000, you know what happened to the rest of us. So, yeah, that guy, I don't think I would have to say that probably Leon is the most confident in his reviews out of anybody. If he doesn't like something, or if he likes something, he really does not care what people think out there. It's taken me a while to get to that point. I think he had it before any of us did, at least before I did. So I don't think he gives a shit. I think he'd be out there. I think he's waiting on you nerds to come after him. I think he's got a fortress built up at his house. And I
think he's sitting in his costume going, "I'm the goddamn Batman."
He's in that costume outside in front of his house. Please, I want a view. No. So. Yeah, Leon he doesn't give a shit. I think he gets to a point where he knows, like many of us know now, if we go against something that is going to be very, very popular with people and we're going to get criticized for talking about it, we all just prepare for it, and we just don't. We either brace ourselves for the comments or we just don't read them. And I think right now he's just not even reading them. Actually, that's a lie. He's reading all that shit. I know, because he's
crying at home.
He's
I love you people. Why have you turned on me?
Yeah, he's one of those guys who will read all these comments and he'll be like, "Man, I don't give a shit." But at home, he's like quietly shedding a big gooey tear coming out the side of his eye. So, yeah, I think it gets to all of us at some point. Like, man, why are y'all acting like this? But really, I think out of everybody, he's the one that is least affected by it. So, yeah, he's fine. Fuck you and your geek protection program.
All right, one last question.
Okay.
Israel Magana asks.
I don't like that guy.
You don't?
I don't even know him. I'm just kidding.
I don't know. He looks like a nice enough kid.
Oh, let's read his email then.
Yeah, he's got 38 followers, so 38 people like him.
Oh, okay. Well, count me as 39.
Number 39.
So fine.
Is there a movie this summer that you think will start any trends in the movie business? I'm hoping Scott Pilgrim will.
Oh, Scott Pilgrim was I guess is one of the most anticipated movies I'm waiting to see this summer. As far as creating a trend, I think it'll be so unique that that'll be a hard trend to create over and over again.
You know what, you know which one is actually going to do it? The one that everyone is going to be talking about, and the thing everyone's going to be looking for from this summer.
Do tell.
They're looking for the next Karate Kid. They're looking for that film that has a built-in audience that they can make for $40 million that will appeal to families. That film cost $40 million to make. It appealed to the kids, and it has made an insane amount of money, and it's going to kill on DVD. That's what everybody wants. They want something. They're going to want something inexpensive that appeals to families, and that's the trend we're going to see. Is we may see remakes of family films from the 70s and 80s, things that have that kind of iconic appeal, but don't require large budgets.
I can see that. I can see that definitely. If I can mention something I think might ride a trend and further it at this moment, it might be Despicable Me with the little yellow sidekicks. I could see that spinning off into something because they are side characters that are different than, but still somewhat similar to the Penguins in Madagascar, which had their own spin-off
Yeah.
on Nickelodeon, the Penguins of Madagascar. I could see them doing something with the sidekicks and Despicable Me, little short, silent cartoons with them.
Yeah, but that's not really a trend as much as it's they'll take that off.
Okay, then I don't know, goddamn it.
No, you know what I'd like to see though?
What's that?
I want nothing more than Inception to open the door for experimental science fiction. That's what I want. I am hoping that all you guys who are doing the work you're doing out there, and the fact that Nolan has pulled in and pulled off what he has, I want this to open the door for Ridley Scott's Alien prequel. You know, things where right now the studio's looking at the Alien prequel and going, we don't get it. You've got the whole story is told with aliens. There are no human beings. How are you going to do it? And have them point to Inception and go, look, audiences are smart. They'll get it. It will be awesome. No one's ever seen this story before. I want to see Ridley Scott make another Blade Runner style science fiction film. I want to see these kinds of larger budget, very intelligent science fiction films made, and I hope that that's the trend that happens. I don't know if it will. This could be a one-off, and it will depend on the box office and how much they recoup, but I'm really pulling that this becomes a trend. But
Yeah.
I tell you now, the one that is trending, the one that everyone wants, is they want another Karate Kid.
And that's easy enough to do. I think that was something that will happen because those movies, if nothing else, they're cheap to make and they bring in huge returns. So
Yep.
I can see that. So
All right, well,
all right, man.
that's a Coco for this week, my man.
Well, we don't see you next week because the Nolan fans have killed us. It's been nice knowing you. Good
Well,
life.
speaking of next week, before we go, are you? I keep getting these questions. Who's going to Comic-Con this year?
I will be there, and
Okay.
I answered that. Are you going?
No, I'm not going. I never go to Comic-Con.
Well, I will be there, and somebody just gave me the name of the place and it's just gonna be me this year because I got some place to stay, and everything is really expensive in San Diego, and people,
It's impossible to get in there anymore. I mean,
man, it's
really.
crazy.
I
So
feel like it's peaked. I'm really curious to see what happens this year, but I know a lot of people that are stopping going, and like essentially all of Comic-Con is about the parties now. There's like an absurd amount of parties, so I'm really curious to see what happens.
This year, I'm curious to know what'll happen too if everything they say about. Well, it's sold out, so it's gonna be cool. I mean, everybody they sold out early. I mean, so it really hasn't affected people going to Comic Con. It's gonna be full. It's gonna be probably the same thing as it was last year. Probably even better. I don't know. I know I'm dreading going because I'm just gonna be working my ass off the whole time, except for Saturday night. Somebody sent me the place that we will meet. It will be at WD's restaurant and bar at the Marriott Marina, or the Marina Marriott, which is right next door to the convention center. So we'll be there around I'll be there around 7 to 7ish, 7:30ish. Come out and it's just a good excuse for all the Spill people to meet each other. So just come out and hang out and see who's in your neighborhood on Spill.
In your
get to know them.
neighborhood.
That's right.
In your neighborhood.
Who are the spillers in your neighborhood? The crazy folks you meet each day, like the ones on the Inception review. But yeah, that's where we'll be. So if you want to come out and do that, then please. I hear a lot of people are going to be showing up. I'm working on a video, just a quick video with all the details to put up so all you Spill people can get together. I wish all of us could go. If to even send 3 of us, like they did last year, to even just do 3, it would have cost 7 to 8 grand to do because of all the prices that went up this year. So I don't know, man. I don't
Hey,
know what happened.
I got one last question
Oh
before
oh
we get out of
oh
here
oh
because I
oh
this is too good to ignore.
oh oh.
When are we getting a Carlisle D&D episode of the unnamed video game podcast on Spill?
Well, you are more than welcome to come on anytime you like to talk about that. If there's truly a D&D role-playing game that's coming out soon for any of the consoles out there.
No. He's talking about that. It's just Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, then tell them to shut the hell up.
Okay,
All right
dude,
then.
shut the hell up. All right.
With that, we will say good evening.
Good night, everybody.